Good morning, my VIPs. We saw something, I don't know if it was online or if it was I can't remember, we were searching for something on a map, and my wife said, hey, there's a new gym that opened up in Otay Ranch area. And it was called by a certain name, I won't call them out. Had a certain name, I was like, I've never heard of this gym. And it says an Otay Ranch, and so we start looking, it's like, it must be at the Otay Ranch Mall, of course, and it wasn't at the mall. And we're looking, we're like, well, if it's not where in Otay Ranch is this place? And it's kind of in this very secluded section, and you start looking at the pictures of the gym, like, oh, it's a pretty nice gym. I think I want to be a member of this gym. It looks pretty nice. And if I had an extra $300 a month to be a member of this gym, well, I would do it. Actually, even then, I probably still wouldn't do it. I don't like fitness that much. And I started thinking about most gyms are between $25 a month and $50 a month. And if you want to go to a place where maybe they have some trainers and things like that, you might go to one that costs $120 a month, $150 a month. But that's kind of a lot of money for a gym membership. When you're going to go and maybe walk on a treadmill and lift some weights, things that you could probably do from the comfort of your own home. But it helps to go somewhere where you feel like, okay, I'm here now, I have to do this. This is why I came. When you wake up, you're like, there's a gym in my garage. That ain't why I'm here. I'm here because I live here. It's harder to go. But I started thinking about $300 a month, and what does that actually mean? Well, it means there is going to be a certain profile or a certain demographic of people who simply will not be there because they can't afford to be there. So joining that gym, you are actually kind of placing yourself into a certain strata of society where you know there won't be really anyone below you there because they can't afford to be there the way that you can. And people who are much wealthier than you probably go to an even nicer gym. So you've kind of put yourself in this sweet spot where, you don't have to put up with all the other people. You can just be with people who are like you, some very important people who can afford such luxuries as $300 a month, gym memberships that you may or may not frequent, but you just have it. And that makes you feel good. Or you think about when you fly. I've never flown first class, but you often walk by the first class passengers because they get seated first and they kind of get some special treatment, special meals, special seats. When I flew to Argentina last year, I flew coach. I had a little nicer seat than my wife. They had a seat that was right behind the bathroom stall wall where you had like this much leg room. But it's cheap. There's cheap tickets. But man, if you're flying in first class, you don't have to put up with us coach people. No, economy people. Sorry, I'm giving my age away. The economy class. Now you have your own section. It's curtained off. You don't have to see the people. You don't have to see them. You don't hear them. Nothing. You get your own nice little space. Or if you get to go to a game and you get the VIP suite, well, you get special food, special service. If it's a really nice one, it's all cased off. You can't hear anybody. You have to put up with the wild and crazy economy seat people. No, you've got your special place. You've arrived. You're special. And in the church, we sometimes think that we are spiritual VIPs. Now, we've made it. That we're better than. For whatever reason we might think that. We might think we're better than because of our doctrinal purity. We might think we're better than because we know how to do it and they don't know how to do it over there in that church. But we know, so we're better than. Throughout Scripture, I think Israel and even the disciples, they kind of fell into this idea or this trap, this way of thinking that because God has chosen us, that means we're special. That means we're very important people. And they kind of had good reason to think so. Deuteronomy chapter 7, it says, "For you are a people holy to the Lord your God. The Lord God has chosen you out of all the peoples on earth to be his people, his treasured possession." I mean, if that doesn't make you feel special, How many people are on the earth? Well, we got more people on the earth now than back then, but there are a lot of nations, a lot of groups. God could have chose anyone, but he chose us. Us. We're his treasured possession. None of these other people are. Just us. Aren't we special? Deuteronomy chapter 10, although heaven and the heaven of heavens belong to the Lord your God, the earth with all that is in it, yet the Lord set his heart and love on your ancestors alone and chose you, their descendants after them, out of all the peoples as it is today. And man, if you read some verses like that, you might start to think that you are special. We're all special. But you might begin to think that you are a very important person. More important, in fact, than all the riffraff at LA Fitness and 24-Hour Fitness paying their $25 a month memberships. No. $300 a month membership. I don't fly economy, I fly first class. And when I go to a game, I don't just go to a game. Oh no, I rent my own VIP suite. And when I go to a concert, I don't just go to a concert. I get a VIP pass, and the famous people have the chance to meet me. I'm chosen. I'm special. I'm not like everybody else. I'm like that Pharisee that says, God, thank you so much. They didn't make me like all these losers. You made me a winner. Not like them. I'm a little better than them. Genesis 12. Now the Lord said to Abram, go from your country and your kindred and your father's household to the land that I will show you. I will make you a great nation, and I will bless you, and I'll make your name great, so that you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and I will curse the one who curses you, and in you all the families of the earth shall be blessed. And if that's not a special call, can you imagine being Abram and you're hearing this call from God? He says, there's a lot of people on earth, but I'm choosing you. I'm going to make your name great. They're going to make a nation after you, and that nation will be great. We have people of privilege. Now, I am not saying that God didn't choose them. What I am saying is that privilege alone is not enough. And in fact, being given a privilege, being chosen by God is not the point. The point isn't, I've been chosen by God, aren't I special? Because a privilege without a purpose is pointless. Privilege without purpose is pointless. Look at this different translation of Genesis chapter 12 again. Now skip down to the very end. It says, one who curses you I will curse, and in you all the families of the earth shall bless themselves. In other words, they will see how Abram lives. They will see how he raises his family. They will see what he does, and he will be an example for them. So when they bless him by following the example he sets, they will learn to bless themselves. You see, the privilege comes with a purpose. That's the point. The point was not for Abram to strut around and say, look how great I am. God picked me and he didn't pick you. No, the point is, yeah, God picked me, but he picked me with a purpose. I have a task to perform. There's a vocation that I must fulfill. There is a life that I have to live. There's a point to it. Exodus chapter 19, now therefore, if you obey my voice and keep my covenant, you shall be my treasured possession out of all the peoples. Indeed, the whole earth is mine, but you shall be for me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. These are the words you shall speak to the Israelites. Did God choose them? Yes. Were they his treasured possession? Yes. Did they have to listen to his voice? Yes. To what end? So they could be a kingdom of priests. Well, what does that mean? To be a kingdom of priests. Now, if you're thinking, Rob, I thought we were studying the Gospel of Luke. We are. I'm getting there. Just have a little patience. Israel had their own set of priests that would intervene between them and God, but God had chosen Israel to be a kingdom of priests that would intervene between the world and God, show them how to live, show them how to be, so that they could learn to bless themselves by following their pattern. God didn't just pick them because he wants them to feel special. God had to pick someone, and he picked them. He could have picked anyone, but he picked them. God could have picked any tribe to be a tribe of priests. It didn't have to be the Levites. He could have picked Judah. He could have picked Benjamin. He could have picked anybody that he wanted. But he picked the Levites, not because they're better than anyone else, but because he needed to pick someone, so he picked them. And God did not pick us because we're better than anyone else. He picked us because he needs to pick someone to show the world how to live. Because privilege without purpose is pointless. Luke chapter 9. See, I told you. I told you getting all impatient, squirming in your seats. I told you. Then Jesus called the 12 together and gave them power and authority over all demons and to cure diseases, and he sent them out to proclaim the kingdom of God and to heal the sick. He picked them. Why? To exercise the authority that he had given them in the world around them. That was the purpose. Sometimes it's so easy to get caught up in the fact that we have been chosen that we forget that we've been called for a reason. Later on, when Jesus sends out the 72 and he gives them the exact same instructions, we've actually looked at this several weeks ago, gives them the exact same instructions, they come back and they say, Jesus, you're not going to believe it. This is great. We're casting out demons. Demons, listen to us. Illnesses, listen to us. And he says, don't get all excited that they listen to you. That's not the point. The point is God has picked you and your names are written there, and that's the point. He didn't pick you as something special. Yes, they listen to you, but that's just driving toward the goal. It's not the goal itself. But in the Gospel of Luke, the disciples of Jesus often get this kind of uppity, kind of believing in themselves a little too much attitude. So it continues, as they departed and went through the villages, bringing good news and curing diseases everywhere. And of course, they get really excited about this power. Later on in Luke chapter 9, it says, an argument arose among them concerning which of them was the greatest. You ever stop and wonder why they get in such arguments? My youngest daughter asked me last week, am I your favorite? And I said, do I treat you well enough to make you think that you are? And she did not want to answer my question, so I refused to answer hers as well. You ever wonder why people get in arguments about who's the greatest? Well, yeah, God picked all 12 of us, but which ones of us are the greatest of the 12? As if that was the point. Can you imagine arguing about who's better than? Then Jesus walks in and says, hey, what you guys talking about? Nothing? Right? They're talking about nothing. An argument arises concerning which of them was the greatest. But Jesus, aware of their inner thoughts, took a little child and put it on his side. And he said to them, whoever welcomes this child in my name welcomes me. And whoever welcomes me welcomes the one who sent me, for the least among all of you is the greatest. The point isn't for people to serve us and recognize our greatness. The point is for us to serve others so they can recognize his greatness. And somewhere along the way, they'd forgotten that that's what they were called to. Jesus gives stories about people fighting over the most important seat at a party and how humiliating it is if you assume that everyone is there to honor you and you take the seat of honor and then the real person of honor shows up and the party thrower says, "You're in the wrong seat. I need you to move on down. I need you to go back to the economy class. You didn't buy a first class ticket. What are you doing in this VIP booth? Go sit with everybody else." Imagine how humiliating that is. But imagine how awesome it is if you're sitting with everybody else. And the person comes down the aisle, the steward or stewardess comes down and says, "Excuse me, sir, ma'am, you actually have first class seating. Follow me." Everybody wants to be great. But do you remember the point? Do you remember how to be great? This is the thing I love about this. Jesus does not tell them, "Don't be great. Stop trying to be great." Now, he wants us all to be great. But he wants us to know what it means to be great. And what it means is to stop assuming that the way the world sees greatness is the way that you should see greatness. You want to be great? In the ancient world, children were not objects of honor. Today, we tend to honor our children. We give them trophies and awards. We go to their games, and I love it. I think it's the right thing to do. But in the ancient world, children are to not even be seen unless heard. Why are they here? That was more my grandpa's opinion of me when I was little. Why is Robbie here? This is where the adults hang out and talk, and here's Robbie. Get him out. That was the ancient world. Children have no place amongst the adults. And Jesus says, "You see this little child? Bring him here, bring him here. Unless you do what I'm doing, you'll never be great. You'll never be great." John answered, "Master, we saw someone casting out demons in your name, and we tried to stop them because he does not follow us." What do you mean, follow us, John? No one's following you, John. They're following Jesus. They ain't following you. Yeah, they don't follow us. So, how are they casting out demons? In the name of the one that you're following. So what's the problem? Well, the problem is we're special. We're great, not them. Jesus, he chose us. He didn't choose them. Can you imagine? This isn't the only time the disciples in the Gospel of Luke say some pretty radical things. There was one time, this is not in my notes, there was one time they're going through a Samaritan village preaching the gospel, and the Samaritans reject Jesus, and the disciples, a couple of them say, "Jesus, do you want us to call down fire from heaven and consume them? You ready to have a Samaritan barbecue?" Why would they say such a thing? Because we're special. They're not. Jesus rebukes them, and they go on their way. I can imagine Jesus wishing he had ibuprofen in the ancient world, because he had to have had some major headaches dealing with those disciples. Probably has those same headaches today when we think that we're great and that our faith is really all about us. And it's not. We're involved in our faith. We're a part of that faith journey, but our faith is about Jesus. Not about how great we can be, but about how great he is. Not about how we deserve it, but about how we don't. Like the tax collector in the same parable, where the Pharisee said, "Thank you for not making me like a loser like this guy over here." And the tax collector says, "I don't deserve any grace you give me. I don't deserve it." We don't deserve it. None of us deserve it. But Jesus said, after they said, we tried to stop these people from casting out demons in your name. We tried to stop them because they're not with us. Jesus says, well, do not stop them. What are you, crazy? Don't stop them. Whoever is not against you is for you. And I will say that within our own particular religious movement, this is a story we need to take to heart. Because for a very, very long time, we have thought that we were the special ones and everyone else, they're out. Don't stop them. They're doing good work in my name. They're not against you, and if they're not against you, they're for you. We're on the same team. My former boss goes to a Shadow Mountain church. They have a satellite church just down the street. And he called me before they set it up, and he said, hey, just want to check in with you, because he's on the board of directors and things like that over there. And he's like, I just want to check in with you, make sure you don't think we're, kind of stomping on your territory as we're setting up shop down the street. And I was like, brother, we're on the same team. How could you possibly be stomping on our territory? All any of us are trying to do is live as Jesus has called us to live and shed his light and his love into the world around us. The more the merrier. I did appreciate the call, though. It's nice of him. Not everyone's so nice. Not everyone is so nice. Privilege does not make you better. I'm going to share a story with you. It is a 100% absolutely true story, and it's also wild. Spiritual, speaking of spiritual VIPs. A long time ago, when I was much younger, I sat in an office, and we had a lady where we used to work who was suffering her third bout of breast cancer. And she had decided during her third bout she was going to leave this organization and go work for someone else who would be more accommodating of her therapeutic chemotherapy that she was going through. Because where we were, even chemo counted as a day off work as a sick day, which always struck me as the weirdest thing. But they counted it, and she only had so many. And so she would actually go to chemo and then come to work. Because that was only a half day. And the person she was talking to said this to her face: if you leave this organization, I'm not going to be able to pray you through this third bout of cancer the way I prayed you through the first two. I am not exaggerating. This is 100%, this is not a preacher tale. I'm not making this up for dramatic effect. Literally, this was said, and I know because the person who said it told me that she said it. Not the person that had cancer, the person who said it told me as if I would resonate with that some way. It reverberated in me in all sorts of bad ways. It didn't resonate. She ended up passing away in her third bout of cancer. And it was just wild to me. The attitudes that we can adopt and take as if her wellness depends on this one person's prayer life. She wields that kind of influence in the spiritual world because God had picked her and God had chosen her. It's just wrong in all sorts of ways. And God didn't pick us just so we could sit here and be like, look at us. Do you go to church? I sure do. Go to church every Sunday. I'm glad you're here. I wish we had more people here. All that. That's all. Doesn't even need to be said, but it's more than that. People don't need to know that you go to church. They need to know that you love them, that you're there for them, that you're going to serve them, that you're going to help them, that you're going to be there for them. I reached out to a guy, and I am not bragging at all because I should do this better, but I reached out to a guy that was in my statistics class. When I first started going back to school, he was in my anatomy class, and he did okay. And I reached out to him, and I said, hey, what's going on, brother? Just want to check in with you, see how school's going, getting ready to start again. And he said, I am so glad you reached out. He's like, every time you and I talk, I feel a sense of peace come over me. Like everything's going to be okay. Do I wish he came to church here? I sure do. I love that guy. But we need to be out sharing God's love, using the privilege that has been given to us. It is a privilege, but we have to realize we are just jars of clay with cracks in it, and the light of Jesus is supposed to shine through those cracks. That's 2 Corinthians, in case you're wondering. Privilege doesn't make you better. Privilege comes with a purpose. So again, what if? What if as a church we started to use our imagination and use the gifts that God has given us to serve the community around us? What if we started to be there more for our families? What if we stopped living in arrogance and instead adopted a position of humility where we lived in that humility and let the love of God shine through us? What if? What if we didn't get in arguments about who's the greatest? Who cares who the greatest is? Just get out there and love people and serve people and be there for people. What if? Imagine what could happen in this church. Imagine what could happen in our communities, in our families, if only we adopted that position of humility. Amen? Youth 1050, just so you know, there will be no Youth 1050 today. Sorry, Brandon. I know you're eager. We actually have a special announcement my son's going to be doing, and I want all the youth to be here for that announcement. So, Art, if you will.